Hello. Well, hopefully this works. I've been having some camera issues, but we are up now. We're good to go. Please let me know if you can't hear me or can't see me. It seems fine on my end, but I think we're good to go. That is maybe a little bit of a preview of how the Golden Knights are going to play. I think it's going to be a little more wild this year than we're used to. I don't think they're going to be as buttoned up in front of their own goal. You are going to see some really exciting offensive hockey, which is fun to watch, and I really enjoyed what we saw there from the Golden Knights in the situation where they have those two goals in the third period by Eichel, Stone, and Eichel, Marner, and Barbashev. Just absolutely beautiful goals. So cool to see that. Overall, like, you got to look at this and, like, first off, we have to make sure we don't go nuts about game one. Like, that's step one. We can't go overboard about it because the simple fact of the matter is, like, it's one game. They did get a point. They were down by 2. I know they came back, and I know they were up by 2. So you don't want to blow that, but also you were down by 2. Oh, I have a light and I don't have it on. Hang on, maybe this will look even better. Or I don't have a light. Wait, hang on, I have a light. I guess I don't have a light. Oh, well. We'll deal with no light. Oh, well. Going down 2, coming back to up 2, then giving it up, then being down 2 in shootout. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot to take out of this game. First off, to me, the game changes in a big way, like immediately on the major penalty. It's clearly a penalty. I think it's a little harsh that they called it a major. That being said, like, it lands on a 3-minute power play where the Golden Knights have 2 opportunities to score. I think that's actually probably fine. I think it's probably fair. It was slightly worse than a 2-minute penalty. It ends up being 3. That really changed the game. I think that gave the Golden Knights an opportunity that I'm not sure they would have had, right, if they don't get that chance. Because at 5-on-5, I'm not sure they were the better team outside of maybe that little 10-minute stretch to begin the third period where a lot of good things happened inside of that portion and really mostly from one line. And it was great to see that come up, and we'll talk plenty about that. But then to kind of have that chance, give up the shorty, give up the one on the rush when you're really trying to back in and not give up anything else and defend. Like, it just seems to me like that was an opportunity to not give that away, and they do end up giving it away. But again, it's one game. Cassidy said before the game today, and I think it's legitimate. We've talked about it most of the summer since the schedule has come out, which is that the back-to-back probably benefits the team on the second night of the back-to-back to open the season. I just think that's more likely the team that benefits in that situation. And I think the Golden Knights were the ones that end up starting a little bit slower because LA's a little bit more buttoned up early in the game. They get a couple of goals. They put the Golden Knights back on their heels. They were able to get themselves back into the game, which was good to see. Off at first line gets going. Second line, the Stone line, Carlson started to get going a little bit. Stone almost scored a goal on his own. But it's going to come down to, and like, I know I'm seeing all the comments. I know how many times I saw Carter Hart's name in my mentions today. It is going to come down to defending this season. Like, I really think it's that simple. I believe they're going to be an elite offensive team. They scored 5 goals today. They scored another one in the shootout from Dorofeev. Like, I think they're going to score a lot of goals. I projected they might be the best, highest scoring team in the entire season, in the entire league this year. I think that's certainly possible. It's going to be the other end. It's going to be, how are you giving up goals on the other end? So, like, you had the Lausanne turnover, which was a really bad one, which led directly to a goal. That's the Byfield goal. You've got the Kuzmenko kind of gets in there and has a chance on the power play. Hanifin lays down in front of it. Probably want to block there. You probably then want to save if you don't get the block there. You've got the other breakaway that goes in on the shorthanded goal. You've got the 2-on-1, basically. It wasn't really a 2-on-1. It's like a rush chance that turns into a really nice goal on the back door that they poke in and then take out Hill through that. To me, when you look at goaltending in this particular game, You want one of those, one of the breakaways, one of the backdoor chances, one where you can't really see it very clearly because there's a screen or there's a guy in front of it or whatever. I think probably the Malott one that bounces off of him right in front, that's a tough one to ask for. Not a lot of most goalies are going to do. Kind of just make yourself big and hope that it hits you, right? The other ones, yeah, you could probably come up with one. But I've said this 100 times, and I will continue saying it 100 more if I have to. The fact of the matter is, Adin Hill is what is in front of him. That is what we've seen over the course of Adin Hill being the Golden Knights goaltender. That's what we've gotten. Whatever's in front of him, that's what you're going to end up getting. And that's what we saw again today. The defense in front of him was leaky. There were mistakes. There was puck management issues. There were breakdowns in the back door. There were not blocking shots that you need to block shots. There were different opportunities that were all presented in front of him. And most of the time, because this is the style of goalie that they have, you're not going to get bailed out by the goalie. Could he bail you out? Yeah, he could. It's certainly possible. He could bail you out in that situation, but he didn't. And in this particular case, he didn't. And most of the time, he won't. It's just not likely. So if you want to sit there and say the goalie is the problem, that's perfectly fine if you want to do that. But if you want to do that, you need an $11, $12 million goalie to bail you out of those problems. They need to sell multiple forwards or a defenseman to get a better goalie, to get a 13, 12, whatever $million goalie. That's what you would need to put yourself in a position to have the guy who's going to erase poor defense. Instead, for me, I think they're better off finding a way to shore up what they're doing defensively. Be better defensively. It's October 8th. It's not that big a deal. Remember back last season, they won all these games at the beginning of the season, outscoring their problems. And eventually, they rounded into form and started defending at a level that I think was a lot better. But that was a group that had Alex Pietrangelo, had Nick Hague, and had everybody kind of lined up in a position that's much, much better. In this particular game, let me read some of the numbers off here. Noah Hanifin played 20 minutes and 48 seconds of 5-on-5 time. Shea Theodore played 22 minutes and 38 seconds of even strength time. That gets a little blown out of proportion due to the overtime. But most of the time, the way that it's looking like is Hanifin and Whitecloud are drawing the hardest minutes, the most minutes, and the offensive minutes are going more to Shea. Braden McNabb, 18-19 at even strength today. That's also his overall total, 18-19. Less than a third of the game. Now, I understand there's a lot of power play. You're not, there were what? They had 3 minutes, then there's a power play there, then there's a power play there. So it was 7-ish minutes of power play time. 5-on-3 changes that a little bit. So you lose a little bit out of it. But the way that this team is constructed at the moment, Noah Hanifin's got to be number one defenseman. He's got to be 1A. And that's a tall task. That's a tough ask. And in this particular game, I think we began to see a bit of that problem. Now, the Kings have also been a team that recently, the Golden Knights have lost 4 consecutive times to the Kings. They've been a team that scored on Vegas. I don't know what exactly it is about the Kings that allows them to score on Vegas. They're really not a high-scoring team. The matchup should not really lead to them scoring a ton against the Golden Knights, but they have. So I don't want to jump off the cliff. I know the last time the Golden Knights played a game, we were on the cliff, and now we've got to go back towards this where it's like, now we're not on the cliff because this is 1 of 81, and they got it, or 1 of 82, and they got a point. So it's not the end of the world, but when you see the numbers that I pulled up where they're like 140-4 or 6 or something when they score 5 goals, that may start changing. 5's a lot, but like the 4-goal number, the 3-goal number, where it's been in the past, especially in the playoffs, this team scores 3, they win. It's really been that simple more often than not. That may not be the style of how this team's going to play. And I'm interested to see How do they work through this? Are they going to start taking less chances offensively? That's going to help them defend a little bit more. Do they need a different body in there? Is Lazan going to actually be able to fit with what Cassidy wants him to do? Can Korzak elevate into a role that puts him into a position where he can actually kind of thrive in this role as opposed to kind of just be hanging on, which is what it felt like today? Can Hanifin take that incredibly difficult role and run with it and survive with it? I don't know. And so that's where you look at, it's one game, but it is the beginning of what we've thought we might see this year. I told everybody throughout basically all the preseason, I'm not worried about the offense. I'm not. I know they didn't score a bunch in the preseason. That's fine. It doesn't make a difference. When they have opportunities, they're going to put the puck in the back of the net. The problem is they got a 2-goal lead today. They scored 4 unanswered goals. It is extremely rare that a team in the NHL scores 4 unanswered goals and does not win the game. In fact, they didn't even win. They had to go to overtime, right? You should win the game by multiple goals in regulation when you score 4 straight goals, which they had. Shorthanded, one blows it. Power play. So obviously, most of the focus is going to go on the 2 Dorofeev goals. I'll get to Pavel in a second because I know people are kind of giving me some shit about Pavel, and I probably deserve a little bit of shit about Pavel after one game in which he scores a hat trick. We'll get to that. Power play, I thought it was all right. It ends up going 2 for 6, right? 2 for 6. The number is goofy because it's 2 goals on the 3-minute power play, which counts as 2 for 2, which is weird because it's only a 3-minute power play, and then they don't score on the other, like, whatever. They're 2 for 6, or maybe it's 2 for 5. Where's my number? No, power play goals, power play opportunities, 2 for 6. Yeah. So they end up 2 for 6. The 5 power play unit or 5 forward power play unit, I think at times it's going to take some time for it to really click in regards to like getting the puck into the zone, getting it set up, getting the look that they actually want. And I thought we saw that in the first power play. It started to get better, and then all of a sudden you get those 2. Now, the second goal is a 5-on-3. Most power plays are going to look pretty good against the 5-on-3. Golden Knights have been elite on the 5-on-3 as of recently after a long stretch to begin the franchise where they were not. They're very, very good at the 5-on-3 now. So that one I don't want to put too much on. The good news is Pavel's in that spot, and Pavel has continued to prove when you put him in that spot, he's going to be wide open. They're going to find ways to get passes to him, whether that's Stone, Hurdle, Eichel, even Marner now getting passes to him. He's going to do things and score them. That's what he does. That's the best value that Pavel has. Now, Pavel also made the play at 5-on-5 today, steals the puck in the neutral zone, goes down, rips a shot. I still don't really know how that shot went in. It went through the guy's legs, and then I thought maybe it fooled Forsberg a little bit. More of that is what's going to take us to really believing that Pavel is more than the trigger man on the power play, that that's basically all that's there. I saw a little bit more in his game today. We obviously need him to stay healthy, especially in the most important moments. We obviously want to see what it looks like in the power play. I'm certain, in the playoffs, I'm certainly not at the point that a lot of people on my Twitter timeline were that are saying pay him $11 million or $9 or whatever number you wanted to say. I'm not there yet. Great to get 3 goals. Great to get off to a hot start. I believe he will probably score a bunch of goals this year. But there's also more to the game, and they're going to have to figure out how does that fit. Can that line do much? Because I thought outside of that goal, that was probably the least or most underwhelming line, least whelming, right? That was, to me, the most underwhelming line that they had. I thought the fourth line had some good shifts. They're not really going to generate a ton of offense, but they can kind of turn the game in your favor a little bit if things are not going your way at different times. Obviously, first line took them a period and a half-ish to really get it going. Then all of a sudden, absolutely dominant. And they looked really, really good in that third period. And I felt like if they can get another shift and another opportunity to get out there all together, we potentially are looking at the game-winning goal here. It obviously ends up not happening. The Carlson, Smith, Stone line, I thought it was mostly driven by Stone today. I think you need more out of Carlson and Smith if that line's going to actually do the job. I also think matchup-wise, this isn't particularly a great line or a great matchup for this team, meaning that line is going to have the ability to play against really elite lines and still generate offense. And in this particular game, they don't really have that elite line. They don't have that group that you say, if we could just take this away, we now have matchup benefits moving along. So that's where I feel like this isn't the perfect game for them. Stone still did his job pretty good at the end, drew that penalty. I mean, he makes an unbelievable play, just completely pickpockets Edmondson. What a disaster. Something about the Kings, they love bringing the puck back into their own zone and then flinging it across right in front of the goal. It's like, sometimes it's out above the circles, but it's like, what are you guys doing? And eventually Stone caught on and took one, and it could have potentially won the game for the Golden Knights. Couple other things. The opening. I do want to talk a little bit about the opening because we were promised via an email, and I'm assuming it went out. I don't know. It was probably on the website or something. I don't. There was some sort of email, and it was saying like one-of-a-kind experience, things you've never seen before. And I'm sitting here thinking, I've seen a lot of shit, right? Like, I've been to all the games here. I've been to World Cups. I've been to tennis tournaments, majors. I've been to big-time football games. I've been to playoff basketball games, big-time stuff, right? College football. I've been to a bunch of stuff. I've seen a lot. So I'm sitting here like, all right, what's going on? Now, first, they come out with these big, like, I don't know. They look like DJ boxes. I don't know. What do you call the thing that the DJ, the mix board or whatever? That thing, right? They bring like 8 of those out, and they just set them down. And then there's like pylons, like in the corner of the end zones of the NFL, and they put them down, and they aren't plugged into anything. They're just there on the ice. And I'm like, is there going to be fire? And my thought was like, if it's fire, I've seen fire. If it's like shooting out ice, I guess maybe I haven't seen that, but it wasn't plugged in. I'm like, well, this can't be the case. And then the thing starts. Now, the video, I will admit, it's the first time I've seen it. I got 40 chances again to now see it again. I don't understand the video yet. There's kids, they see the dragon flies over, the dragon then comes into T-Mobile Arena, and then the kids walk in and they got flashlights or something, and then all of a sudden we're on the moon. So I don't really, the story arc, I don't know what happened there. But the drones then come out, and the drones are pretty sweet. Now, I'm sitting in the press box. The drones are tiny. They're not the biggest, so I can't exactly see what's going on. However, never seen a drone show right there on the ice 7 minutes before the game. That was pretty cool. And I think it kind of opens up the ability to use the drones in a bigger way. Maybe this one's not the absolute best thing they're ever going to do with it, but the idea that like they could roll out 2,000 drones. I don't know how many they actually had. It wasn't 2,000, but they could roll out a shit ton of them and then put it up. And like, it did make the logo, or at least a portion of the logo. I think it was the V logo. It was pretty cool. So to me, like, it was something different. And I'm sitting there thinking, what's going to happen? And then it ends up being drones. I'm like, all right, I'm in. So they kind of did deliver. I'll give it to them. They did deliver on something you've never seen before. I had never seen a drone show inside of an arena moments before the game. So that was kind of cool. So I like that. On to the Eichel extension. I know people have been asking me about that. I said I was going to talk about that in this. So let's go ahead and do that. I believe that in this particular case, I think Eichel ends up being the one that quote unquote cracks. Somebody had to finish the deal, say, yes, I'm in. I think the Golden Knights have had this deal presented to him for, I don't know how long, but I would imagine it has been presented to him. I think he's the one that eventually says, all right, I'm in. Let's do this one. I believe he could have gotten more. So for those who maybe down the road, if we end up in a situation where we're like, well, he took this massive contract, he's not playing up to the massive contract, I think he could have taken more. I think he could have taken basically about 16. 16's maybe a little pushing it. I think 15 and a half based on the tax off of the Kaprizov 17. I think he could have done that. Reasonably, I thought it was going to land in the low 14s, low to mid 14s. So I think they probably saved about $1 million per year. That's good, but that's also a minimum wage player. I guess you could have a $4 million player be a $5 million player. I don't think that's going to shift things all that much. As far as percentage of the cap, let's see if I can get this thing to pop up, which I cannot because I reloaded it. Too bad. Percentage-wise of the cap, for now, obviously right now, he's still on last year's deal. Next year, his percentage of the cap will be higher than it is this year. It will be similar to what it was last year, similar to what it was the year they won the cup. It then goes down as we go because we expect the number to go up. So they're kind of just in the same spot. I don't think this is some crazy underpay. I don't think he left some massive amount of money on the board. I think if you were to tell Jack Eichel tomorrow, $5 million, you don't have to move, he'd probably say, that sounds good to me. You still get to live here. I think that's that's kind of what happened. It's a good deal for the Golden Knights. It's a good deal for Jack Eichel. It does not change much of what they're looking at in the future. I think we were kind of along this path. You're still going to now have to work with what is the new core, which is basically Eichel, Marner, Hannafin, Theodore. That's effectively the new core. You're going to, and I guess you could throw Hurdle probably in that core as well. They're going to have to work around that and figure out, okay, well, what is missing from the roster now? What are we going to lose when Stone's no longer available? What are we going to lose when Carlson's no longer available? McNabb, these types of players that are inevitably going to age out when this contract continues to push forward. It's, of course, massive that they don't lose him, right? They don't lose him. Yeah, is Dorofeev part of the core? Not quite yet, at least for me. Like, we've got like 7 playoff games under our belt. I think I need a little bit more than that. So we are probably heading that way. I would assume we would probably be heading that way. I would not pay Pavel Dorofeev a massive amount of money today. We've got 81 games left, and then the postseason that I expect the Golden Knights to get a little bit more information to see, are we going to be in a position where maybe we do want to do that as we go forward? So maybe we will have better information there. But I do think that, like, there's really no reason to break up what's going on here, which is why we always thought Eichel has to get done. I'm happy that it did get done before the season. I think Jack's happy that it got done before the season. I know the Golden Knights are happy that it got done before the season because you don't have to worry about it as much. Now you've got to figure out, where are we missing? What's missing from this group? Where can we fill those holes? And yes, there is some cap space available. There is not a gigantic number of cap space available. And because of that, I think finding that elite number 1A defenseman is going to be tricky. If they can find that, I think it can potentially change the outcome. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, Rasmus Andersson is not that. If anybody else has questions, go ahead and put it in there. What's the likelihood Stone gets another 2 or 3 years, or does he retire? I think it's going to come down to health. He's got this year and next year still available. He might even have the following year behind that. I don't have the ability to pull it up now. It's going to come down to health. If he's not healthy towards the end of that contract, he may just call it a day. Or he may be looking for another contract and the number may not be where he would expect to be, but it could end up working out for the Golden Knights in that respect. Like I said, I think it comes down to how many games is he playing in the regular season? How many games is he playing in the postseason? Where are we 2 years down the road whenever we get to that point? Would I offer Dorofeev 5 years at $5 million right now? I would be fine with that. I would not sign that if I'm Pavel Dorofeev's agent at the moment. I think there's a chance that he could be worth more than that. I'm not so sure that I'm on board with that. I still want to have more. I want to see more. But I think that if you offered that right now, I don't think that would be something that they would agree on. Carter Hart, if you want to go to the podcast, I talked a bit on Carter Hart. I still think there's a lot we need to learn about the Carter Hart situation in regards to what does he say? What does the organization say? Is there more information that's going to come out if he does end up signing the contract? What's the level of remorse? We'll read all the way through all of the trial and all of that to kind of give a little bit more information about that. Personally, and I will stand by this, I do not believe that Carter Hart today is better than Akira Schmid. I think it's going to take some time for that to be the case. And then once we move forward, I do not believe at any point Carter Hart will be better than Adin Hill. So I think if they do it, they're signing a backup goalie. Is it worth potentially having some people cancel season tickets? Is it worth the backlash that you're inevitably going to get? Does he actually deserve the backlash? I think we can cross a lot of those bridges once we get to it. I still believe, as of today, I still do believe that that's going to happen. I think they are going to eventually sign him. Why is Hill so bad? He's not. That's the simple part of it. I don't know what Golden Knights fans, or at least the loud portion of the Golden Knights fans that like to tweet me after every single goal, are expecting out of the goalie. Look around the NHL. Watch other games. Even the elite of the elite goalies allow goals when defenses break down in front of them. When teams break down and give away shorthanded breakaways, give away 4-on-4 breakaways, or it might have been 5-on-5 at that point. Actually, I think it was, because Byfield was coming out of the box. Flub the puck in the neutral zone and give away these chances. I don't think Hill is elite. I don't think he's on the level of the Vezina candidates, the Hellebucks, the Bobrovskys, the Sorokins, Vasilevsky, those types of players. The next stage below, that's where there's going to be a debate. Is he in the 7 range or is he in the 17 range? I would lean more towards the bottom of that, but I think he's better than most starters. Most might be a little too high. I think he's better than a lot of starters in the NHL. I believe he's better than any other backup in the NHL for sure. And I believe that it would have been very difficult to find someone better than him, especially after the contract was signed. Today was game 1 of his 6-year contract. Today was the first game of his 6-year contract. So, like, the expectation to me, there's 2 things. First off, as a Golden Knights fan, gear up, get ready. He's in there. Like it or not, he's in there. He's the starting goalie for a long period of time, probably. That's happening, at the very least this season, probably well beyond. What you need to happen, what you want to happen, is the defense to play at a level that allows him to play at the level that he can behind them. When they're elite, he is elite. We've seen it. They won the Stanley Cup. You can look around this building. I can't do it at the moment because I'm in the concourse. There are banners that describe how good they were. That's where I'm at on Hill. Do you feel like Hill is going to become more confident, or is he going to become a roller coaster ride? I don't think much will change. Adin Hill is a fairly under control guy. He's got his contract. He's got the good situation. I think he's going to go out there and do the best he can. I don't think he's going to become like an emotional problem or anything of that sort. So he'll be fine. Does that mean he's going to turn into a top 10 goalie? Probably not. If you're a top 10 defense, he will offer you something close to top 10 goaltending. If you are a bottom 10 defense, you will probably get bottom 10 goaltending. Timeline for top prospects, there isn't really one for the current team. The main prospect that would make a huge difference with this roster would potentially be Trevor Connolly down the road. He has not been healthy for a majority of the time that he has been under Golden Knights, whatever you want to call it, control since they drafted him. He's not healthy at the moment. He's probably not going to be on the ice until about the end of this month, probably even into the next month, which then means he's going to have to play a whole bunch of AHL games. It's probably not happening this year. It probably wasn't happening this year anyway. Beyond that, there's not a lot. There's not a lot that's going to come out and help. So if we get to a position to say they need help, they're going to have to look outward to get it. How soon will Hutton come in? I think it's potentially around the corner. I don't think you can see games like this from Lazan all the time. He can't be giving up goals, and he definitely gave up one. He does draw the major penalty. Part of being that style of player is they're going to do dumb shit back, and sometimes you end up on the right end of it. So it's possible. He definitely played a role in getting them back in the game, even though he's one of the reasons that they were behind in the first place. So right now, I would say no, Hutton's not coming in. I don't think we're that close to it, but 5, 6, 7 games in which there continue to be issues, yeah, it could be a problem. Biggest overreaction from the season opener. It's 22 seconds of penalty kill and they give up a goal. I'm a little bit concerned about how the penalty kill is going to go. I think the biggest overreaction I would probably have based on today's game is just the minute load. I wasn't sure how it was going to end up working out. I wasn't sure who was going to get the majority of the minutes defensively at 5-on-5. It does appear that it's going to be Hanifin. And so now the question of, can Braden McNabb step into the role of a 1D or at least a 2D on the first pair, whatever 1B, however you want to call that. We may not be even looking at that. It now falls in the lap of White Cloud and Hanifin. My overreaction after one game would be, I don't know that they're going to be able to get the job done. So where do you turn from there? Do you hand the keys over to Theodore and McNabb? I don't know. That's what I would say the overreaction from this game is. You've allowed 5 goals. You had a 2-goal lead in the third period with 9 minutes left, and you weren't able to hang on to it. One of them's a shorthanded goal, but it's a Theodore mistake that kind of leads to it. Carlson had a little bit to do with it as well. But then, let's see, who's on the ice for the one? Yeah, so the goal that ties it up, Hanifin is on the ice with White Cloud. I think in that situation, and I remember saying, like, look, if we get down to the 6-on-5 situation where they have the goalie out, I don't know how this team's going to handle it. I don't know who's going to get that role. I don't know how it's going to go. I have some concerns there. So that would probably be my biggest overreaction from here. Do you feel that our window to win another cup is 2 to 3 years because of our aging players? So, like, the window to me is open, but not as wide open, because I don't look at today's roster and say this is it. I don't look at today's roster and say this is the best team in the NHL. I know a lot of people pick the Golden Knights to win the Stanley Cup. I'm not on board with that because I don't believe that they're going to be able to beat 4 teams in a row with this defense in front of them and with the goalie that they have. Because I don't think the goalie can bail you out if your defense is not great. So because of that, I think they have to find extra pieces, and there's not a lot of space to make some of that extra pieces. That being said, I have been here in this moment on opening night saying I don't think this team's good enough, and I probably was there in 2022, 2023 when they did win the Cup, and things change. You are able to find different pieces, different players emerge, different things happen. Injuries happen, opening up doors for other people. I don't know who's going to step through all those doors. I would definitely not sit here and say it would shock me if the Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup. So thus, the door or the window, whatever you want to call it, has to be somewhat open. I do think once William Karlsson and Mark Stone are not under the contracts that they're on right now, and B, aged down to the point where they're not the players that they were or that they have been. And we'll see, are they still the players this season all the way through? Age is a real thing. It is going to catch up eventually. They're the ones that I kind of say, all right, as this current group of players, I don't like to call it really a window because I don't think the window is going to shut. When you have Eichel, when you have Marner, when you have Hanifin, when you have Theodore, when you have Hertl, and if you want to throw Pavel into that, when you have that group of players, it's how do you fill the next group behind them to make sure that you go from, like, you're not going to go to this team stinks. Like, it's just unlikely at this point. Now, if there are injuries, if different things happen, that is certainly possible, but I don't see that being all that likely. So in that respect, I don't think the door, I keep calling it door for some reason. I don't think the window slams shut. But at the same time, it's going to take the right moves at the right time and then players playing slightly above their heads to overcome some of the shortcomings that I think are going to be necessary in the roster because you're paying a lot of money for two players. And also, I don't believe they have the eraser goalie. Some teams you have the eraser goalie and you can say, well, we'll be fine because he's just going to fix it. Like, whatever's going on, he's just going to fix it. The Golden Knights don't have the eraser goalie. What are your thoughts on the fourth line's performance today? I thought they did their job. I thought there were a couple of shifts where they got out there and got in on the forecheck. They had a couple of opportunities right in front. One in particular I can remember. Puck got back out up to the point, fired in. Howden standing right there in front all alone. That potentially can be a goal. There was a Kolazar chance in tight. They had like a little mini 2-on-1 type of thing that they ended up getting back checked where Kolazar tried to make a little bit fancier of a pass than he should have made. Sissons, I didn't think had a particularly good game. It's his first game in a long time. He's been out for a little while. And the same can be said with Lauzon. To be fair, let's be fair to Lauzon. He hasn't played a lot, so we got to give him his little grace there. He was out basically, I think it was like New Year's Eve of last year. So he's been out for effectively 10 months. I thought they did the job. I'm not on board the same way that the front office and Cassidy have been over this summer, saying that's what was missing. I don't think fourth line directness, I don't think forecheck style, I don't think that's what was missing from last year against Edmonton. I think the ability to score in difficult situations with your best players is what was missing. Today, I don't know that we necessarily saw that. You've got the 2 power play goals, you've got Dorofeev on the break, and then you've got the 2 just unbelievable, awesome tic-tac-toe goals. I think you're going to get some of that as we move forward. And that's what we've seen out of some of the great teams in the past. Some of the teams that have high-end talent, that you can get some of that. But so far, 5 goals, none of them are the exact style that they've been saying, this is what we're trying to find. The 6 goals against, not all 6, or it's 5 in the shootout one, so we'll call it 5. Not all of those are the problem children style of goals that we have to avoid. So it's not like it's all burning down or anything of that sort. But I don't know that you look at the 5 goals that happened today. One's a 5-on-3, one's a 5-on-4, one's a shot between a guy's legs on a break, on like an unassisted break, sort of. The other one's 2 awesome plays by a trio who we expect to be very good, at least during the regular season. Is that going to translate in the postseason? We're only going to know in the postseason. So I don't believe that the fourth line has to do this job that's going to bring the other guys into playing that style. I just don't buy it. I don't think Jack Eichel sits there and thinks, well, Colton Sissons and Brett Howden have been going straight to the goal. I'm just going to do that instead of doing the things that made me $108 million recently. That's not going to happen. So while, yes, it is nice to have some of that, it is, I think, nice to see a little bit more of the physicality, a little bit more of that harder forecheck that makes life difficult on teams. I think it does wear teams down, and inevitably that does open ice up for other players. I do think that is helpful, but I don't think that's the difference between do you score against Stuart Skinner in 127 minutes and do you not. So did they do the job? Yes, I do think they did the job. Do I think that it was so good that we should be celebrating it? No. If they score goals, it's fun. It'll be cool. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference in the overall impact of the team. It may on a given night, it may on certain situations, but overall, they're not going to win or lose the Stanley Cup or win or lose a playoff series because of how well those 3 play. Plus, give it time, we're inevitably going to have injuries, and then immediately those 3 are going to be broken apart. That's just how it's going to go. I believe that that's going to happen. Overall, it's 1 game. They got a point. They didn't start very well. They fought their way back. Then they were the better team for a good chunk of the middle of the game. Got themselves into a position where now you've got the game won, and then they gave it back. So it's the first portion, I'll break it into 3. It's the first portion was First game, they have a game under their belts. You do not. They're a little sharper than you are. They're a little more up for the speed of what regular season hockey is right now than you are. They take advantage of that. They take the lead. Now you get to the middle, major penalty, open the door. Good of the Golden Knights to step right through, say, all right, you've given us the opportunity. They take it, draw the other penalty to get the 5-on-3 goal, score on the part of that 3-minute power play. Like, good job, step through it. Now it's 3-3. I was interested how the third period was going to start. That's a portion that you can look at and say that first 10 minutes of that third period, that's great to see. Okay, now they've gotten past the back-to-back thing. They're in a good position. All right, now we're here. Now we're in a spot where we can go win this game, and I felt like they did it. Then the final portion comes in, which is where they did not win the game, which is where we now have some of the questions that we started the season out with are they going to be able to hold leads? Are they going to be able to defend at the level that they need to do? Are they a 6-5 type of team now? 4-3, even like 4-2, that type of thing. We might be headed towards that. It's one game. It's a point. It's a point against a team you have actually not been very good against. There's now 3 road games. Go out, win 2 of those 3 road games. You end up at 2-1-1. If that's what happens to be 2-0-2, you're fine. Come back here. A little bit of a tough stretch once they get back here. I don't think October may not be the slam dunk. We'll see. Marner, Barbashev, and Eichel figuring it out 40 minutes into the game and having it for basically that entire 10-minute stretch, that's exciting. Because if that continues, they are going to win a bunch of games in October because that style of play is going to be open in October. That's all I've got for tonight. We will do another one of these maybe Saturday. I don't know. Almost certainly not tomorrow. I guess maybe if they were to lose to the Sharks badly, maybe we do one tomorrow. If they just go out and smack the Sharks around, I probably will not do one tomorrow. Sign up for Sin Bingo. Sin Bingo is open. It's going to be open for basically the rest of the month. Sign up for Subtext if you want to get text alerts of all the news from all season. Also, you can text me directly, and I reply to all of those. You do that. Go to joinsubtext.com/SinBin, joinsubtext.com/SinBin, or you find it on the side of the site. Make sure you apply for your Sin Bingo card. Thanks again to the Jimerson Law Firm for sponsoring all of these. I probably should have done an ad read earlier. However, I'm not in mid-season form. So the Jimerson Law Firm is one of Las Vegas' preeminent law firms specializing in high-stakes business, civil, and family litigation. When winning matters, seek out the Jimerson Law Firm. You've been looking at the logo the entire time. So I know you knew that we were presented by the Jimerson Law Firm. We are presented again by the Jimerson Law Firm. We love the Jimerson Law Firm. They are fantastic. Thanks for presenting us. I will be back at some point. Like I said, I don't know. I knew I was doing one today. I don't know when the next one's going to come. But that's it. Good night. See ya.